It is 5:30. If we can call the regular December meeting of the Amherst Exempted Village Board of Education to order. If you'd all please stand and pledge the flag with us. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Engel.
Present.
Mrs. Gillis. Present. Dr. Hester. Present. Mrs. Wackel. Present. Mr. Zappa.
Here. Item 4 on the agenda this evening is I would take a recommendation to adopt the agenda as it is presented, including any addendums that you may have received. Have a motion and a second, please.
Second.
Motion and a second. Did you get that?
Was that Mrs. Wackel?
Yes.
Can you speak up, please? Thank you.
Is there any discussion or comments? Hearing or seeing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gillis. Aye. Mrs. Wackel. Aye. Dr. Messer. Aye. Mr. Zappa.
Aye.
Mr. Engel.
Aye. Item number 5 would be that we need to appoint a president pro tem for the January 9th organizational meeting.
I'll recommend Mark.
We have a recommendation for Mark. Mark, we're going to just appoint you for that, since there was a recommendation for that. Okay, so that is done. Do we really need a motion on that, madam?
Let's go ahead and do that, please.
I'll entertain a motion. Teresa?
Second.
Motion and second. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gillis. Aye. Mrs. Wackel. Aye. Dr. Messer. Aye. Mr. Zappa.
Aye.
Mr. Engel.
Aye. We have lots of good news reports this evening, so we will begin with some good news reports. Brian, you're up first, okay?
Say it again.
I've got a little crew, so I'm actually going to pass it on. You guys are starting. I'll be the clicker.
I'll be the clicker.
So, first off, here at Powers Elementary, it's kind of exciting. We were able to come to you last year and talk a little bit about the PBIS initiatives, the positive behavior intervention supports that we have in place. We have some updates. It's actually kind of exciting to circle back around to the same topic with a little bit more detail. So, I have a team here. I have Mary Scott Williams, who is our assistant principal. I have Michelle Tellier, who is our wellness teacher, and we have Jill Coleman, who is one of our school counselors. So, with that being said, we want to talk a little bit about restorative practices. I'm going to have Jill Williams talk about that.
Okay, sounds good. All right, hi everybody. So this year we've really had a focus on restorative practices, and it's really exciting because it really focuses on building relationships among the students, building communities within the classrooms, and also among staff. And I guess we'll get to the staff part in a minute. But really, they're super important because, again, they're building relationships, and also I think, Mrs. Tellier and I were talking beforehand, and typically when there's been, like, say, a misbehavior, it's more about, okay, we're going to talk to you, there's discipline, and that's the end of it. Whereas when it comes into that realm, it's more about not just, having a consequence, but it's more about building relationships with that student and really getting to know them and getting all the parties involved. So you're not just talking to one person, you're talking to everyone involved and kind of asking them, like, okay, this happened, but what can we do to move forward? What do you need to feel comfortable so that you can move forward and kind of rebuild that relationship that's been harmed? So, and we really felt this was a powerful message that when you belong, you pay. And so a lot of times, after talking with students, maybe who are having some struggles, one of the things that we find out is, geez, like sometimes they feel like, where do I belong? Like, where do I fit in? And so building those relationships in the classroom and among the school and among all the people that work there and among all the classrooms is kind of is really helpful in helping them feel like they belong.
And to give context to that the example would be this morning. We have a set of students who came to us from Bucyrus this year, and through a lot of events in their life, there's trauma, and the holidays coming for many kids. The holidays coming is a wonderful thing. For some students, the holidays coming is a reminder that things aren't so wonderful. And so one of those students today was acting out, having a rough morning. To have him come down and verbalize in tears this morning, I don't belong here. I don't belong here. I don't know why I'm here. I miss my mom, all the other things that they were going through. If we were to just try to act on the behavior, to say, yeah, you're misbehaving and you deal with the consequences of the behavior, we're missing the point. There's so much down below. We have to get down to that level of making sure that he understands we care for him before we can deal with the discipline.
And so I'll let Mrs. Hillier talk in a moment, but it really promotes, empathy and self-reflection. And so just as far as my experiences have been with running circles, and I know Mrs. Hillier's had the same, we've seen so many students make connections with each other, and also like connections they didn't realize that they had. Sharing, we'll show you an example, I think, once we get going. But in a circle, they might share something simple, like, okay, like my parents are divorced, or my favorite cookie is chocolate chip. And so when another student hears that, in their mind, they're kind of like, oh, like, me too, like, I didn't know that, And so it really helps them to kind of build those connections so that, moving forward, they start to learn more about each other, and they become almost like a community or like a family within that classroom, which then kind of trickles over into the school. So.
An example of that today, I had a little boy in circle, and it was just, the topic was, what did you do this weekend? And he said, I'm sad because I've lost my dad. And he went to explain how his dad had passed away. But what happened next was just equally as moving. That little boy, his story was so sad. But the little girl sitting next to him moved over, put her arm around him, and sat like that the whole circle. So we really are building those relationships.
Well, I hear you. No. So this is actually a video.
You gonna watch it?
Yeah, I could play for just a couple minutes, just see an example of what it looks like.
Something, it has to stay in the circle. That's called confidentiality. Good. What else do we do in the circle? Listen to the person who's talking, and how do we know who's talking? The person who has the push ball is doing the talking. Good. What else?
We just more than anything wanted you to see these are happening every day at our school. And the kids know the routine, they know what it looks like, and now we've even done it with our staff.
Yeah, and it was really, really cool when we did it with our staff at our previous staff meeting. We kind of randomly took staff and intentionally mixed everybody up so that they sort of had to mingle with people from different places where they've never, they don't go typically. So again, we had 2 circles in here, and then we had a circle in different rooms in the school. And it was really cool because it was at the end, the feedback that we got, from staff, they were as they were leaving the circle and it was all over, they were talking to each other, people that don't typically normally get to talk to one another. And then you could hear them saying, oh my gosh, I didn't know you knew that person, or oh my goodness, I didn't know that, your daughter went to school at Ohio State, just different things that they had no idea about. And it really helped them just to learn new things about each other and continue to build those connections. So, and at some points it got a little emotional because some people maybe, are struggling with some different things. And so in the circle, we were able to kind of see different emotions. And it was just, again, another way to kind of build those connections with people. And sometimes you don't know what people are going through, and the circles are kind of an area that kind of see that. So.
Wonderful, and you can see, so obviously I'm going to kind of bounce to our next topic, but we did, the circles were actually really cool with staff. It was nice to have staff kind of model it so that the goal is then they would reach out to their classrooms and implement circles as well. But on the same lines, I think as you've gotten the vibe, powers are a big focus this year is building community, building connections between students and staff, and along that is really pushing forward with our PBIS program. I know Brian mentioned last year you all kind of got an update of what that looked like last year, and so I want to give you an update of what we've also done new this year. And I know we've been up here for a while, so I'll try to move quickly, but we're super proud of the things we do here. And I guess just a little background, PBIS is just systems that address behavior, but are just positively reinforcing positive behavior and teaching how you should behave in different places in the building. These are the various things we've implemented new this year. I've even passed out to the board members. I'm sure you've seen our really cool comment cache that we've created. I'm sure if you look around our buildings, there's ATMs, there's one right there. I mean, throughout the whole building, we've implemented our 4 superpowers and how we should model that and how we should behave. And we reward students with comment cache and even indicate on the comment cache why you're getting that. And then each month they even spend that money on things that matter to them. But these are all the other things. Feel free to ask a Power staff member if you ever want to know more about them. But we're very proud of the things we've implemented this year. This is what our store looks like. So it comes each month. PTO helps us greatly, and students get to buy things that they're super proud of. So like how precious is that they have ownership in the money they've earned and the money they get to spend, reinforcing those positive behaviors, reinforcing how we care about each other and we respect each other within this community space. Yeah, it was nice. Say cheese, and they were super pumped about it. But just to kind of feedback, Brian will kind of conclude going over how we've put a lot of new things from last year to this year. And just even color coding, this will show you the difference between all the new things we've implemented.
So they get all the fun, they get data, and they get pictures of kids smiling. I'm going to end with, so the TFI is the Tiered Fidelity Inventory is the tool that we use to measure the implementation of PBIS. So we're actually going for state recognition this year for our PBIS implementation. So we have to have a tool that measures how far into our Tier 1 implementation are we. So last year, the left side is where we were at when we came and presented to you at the school board last year. And it doesn't take rocket science to show you that green is good. And the purple means we haven't really started it yet. So we are really, really close. In fact, by the fall, this will almost all be green, with just a little smattering of orange by the end of the year. Like, we don't have our annual evaluation done at this time of year because it's not the end of the year, so we haven't done our annual evaluation. But we will have to do an evaluation, and it will be in green. So really, we should be either silver or gold status by the end of the year for our Tier 1 PBIS implementation, and we're working with the ESC on that effort. So very proud. It's just it's a kind of a powerful tool because it literally gives you the roadmap, because you score yourself a 0, a 1, or a 2, and it's rating how far in implementation are you. And then our PBIS committee just reads through the rubric and says, well, what are we missing? And whatever we're missing becomes, well, I guess that's what we have to do next year. So they'll just write down, well, this is what's missing from us being a 2. So we write that down, and then that becomes our next action steps for what we do. So I'll end with the saying that we've kind of been living by, why PBIS? Everybody wants to talk about discipline, and kids need more discipline. Well, the reality is when a flower won't bloom in your garden, you enrich the soil, you don't change the flower. We love the students that we support. We think it's our job to support our students where they are and give them what they need to be successful. And we think PBIS and our restorative practices are a big part of that. So thank the board for your time.
Thank you.
Any questions for the Powers update from anyone? If not, we will move on to Kim for her good news report.
My name is Kim Haney, and I am a med tech teacher. And these are, I've got a group of juniors, hands up, and these are my seniors. And if you've been following med tech for 26 years, you know I love a good contest. We love a good contest. We did very well last year in our wellness contest. We won almost $20,000 in wellness money for the students at Steele. And this year started with a bang. And a company called AdCap, and what's in your wallet? Venture capital. It's this company who reaches out to students and they create these contests. They collaborate with other companies. And this fall was no different. AdCap reached out to me with an invitation, and the first one with the seniors participated with was sponsored by Domino's, and it was called Farm to Pizza. And it's about sustainability. This is the buzzword right now in wellness: sustainability, sustainability. So these 5 students, but I always offer the students, I don't force them to do anything, maybe with a little stiff eye, like we do want to do this, don't we? And they jumped to the chance, these 5 right here, the first 5, and they put a plan together, and then we discovered we won the grand prize, which meant AdCap paid for us in a limo. We were picked up in a limousine and ushered up to Ann Arbor, Michigan. And, well, it was okay, I think I say that. It was okay. We did, when we left, we went to Michigan's football stadium. We did the Ohio letters in front. We asked the limo driver to do that. So that was worth it. But we were the guests of Domino's Pizza. And we were treated like royalty. We felt very fancy. And we went through a tour of Domino's Pizza headquarters, which is ginormous. And then we went to a dairy farm, because part of this project was sponsored by American Dairy. And the students had to present in front of the CEO of Domino's and all the other big shots there. So it was fantastic practice for them. And one of the things that they had to do is they're not allowed to use any visual aids. They wanted them just to stand up and talk. They will be able to talking from their phones. They literally asked me, can we talk from our phones here? And I'm like, yes, please do. So these are our grand prize winners. I'm very proud of them. In a moment, they'll go through their presentation that they made to the CEOs and the other Domino people. And then at the end, the other end here, my juniors, we're missing 2 of them. I said there's another challenge AdCap is sponsoring, and it's sponsored by Cortiva, which is an agricultural science company down in Indianapolis. They didn't win the grand prize, which would have been a trip to Cortiva, but they still placed and won $1,000. So this group won $2,000, this group won $1,000 on a sustainability challenge. These students at the end had a little bit more of a challenge because they had to do it in a Shark Tank style competition. So we go online at 6:30 to 8 o'clock at night. I forget what Wednesday night it was. We worked on the project for a week beforehand, what our goals were, and then literally you have 90 seconds to sell your idea. No visual aids, and they just rocketed it because they want to see what you got. It's the real world. You got to sell yourself with your words. And although we didn't place grand prize, but we still won $1,000, so I'm still very proud of them. Again, another sustainability challenge. They're going to be doing their 90-second presentation as well. So, Velvet.
Hello, my name is Emma. This is Alexis, Alexa, Bella, and Logan, and we are Steele High School medical technology students. Historically, we have offered health and wellness fairs at our school. Spelled this semester, thanks to Domino's AdCap Gen Youth, welcome to our first annual Live Green and Gold Sustainability Health Fair. Hi, I'm Bella. As future healthcare professionals, we understand the importance of healthy and well environment. Environmental issue became popular with the movie Aaron Brockovich. We know then and how we treat Mother Earth will impact our health and wellness of humans.
Hi, I'm Logan. We are blessed to live next to one of the world's largest freshwater resources. We also live in a community thriving, rich in natural resources such as agriculture. We want to bring awareness to our fellow students and community the importance of learning how to sustain our valuable resources. Domino's, AdCap, and Gen Youth feel the same way and are helping us bring the message to the community.
We are excited to kick off our first annual Living Green and Gold Spring of 2023. It'll be 2 weeks filled with activities to bring awareness to sustainability in our community. We are collaborating with the following groups: Mercy Health, the local FFA. We're hoping to have farmers participate that are local, North Coast Surfrider, Akron University, Lorraine County Community College, Lorraine County Public Health, Dally Council, Lorraine County Metro Parks, Amherst Eco Club, Clean Marinas, and a local pizza oven.
Here's a couple events that are already planned. A lunchtime wellness fair is 3 to 4 days of interactive booths. And then like a thrift fashion show where kids use recyclables to make outfits. and then a Domino's Pizza Box recycling awareness, a beach cleanup at Lorraine Port Authority, and then a petting zoo with like baby cows, I don't know what else, the goats, and then the Great Cow Pizza Race, which is where like we'll dress people up as pizzas or cows and have a race. Okay, and your question may be, how will we evaluate that this event has worked? So at the beginning of April, we will create a Kahoot for classrooms for teachers to share with their class. We will see what students know about sustainability. At the end of the event, we'll ask teachers to share the Kahoot again to compare the results. Students who do the survey will be entered to win into gift baskets.
9 seconds to sell it, so we'll see if they can do it in, I said they could have, 3 minutes if they did.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Drop, and this is Brandon Guan. We are representing the Medical Health Technology Program at Amherst Steel High School. We would like to share our project EcoFeel with you today.
Hi. So using this plan, we are hoping to bring awareness to our student body about the environmental issues addressed by the Purple Plow organization. Honing our focus on bee in the kitchen, monarch migration, rain barrels, as well as mini greenhouses. By honing in on these 4 topics, we want every student to make one small change. Our solution to making awareness in our community involves interacting and engaging in activities that can be promoted on social media. We plan to educate students by taking a small amount of time to discuss all 4 issues, and we also hope to implement a podcast in the future to further educate. To involve the student body, we want to have a display of wings on the wall in the hallway that students can stand in front of and take pictures with to post and spread awareness. We also hope to adopt a rain barrel campaign to provide our communities with creative and unique ways to help the environment. We then lastly also plan to use plastic bottles to create these mini greenhouses to help repopulate the bees and the monarchs, as well as reducing the waste of plastic.
Our desire as student wellness leaders is to uplift our fellow peers to help make a lasting impact in our school and community. We are currently reaching up to 23 Lorain County agencies to create a long-term movement, including Lorain County Metro Parks, Ohio Farmers Bureau, and Lorain County Community College.
So for our budget of $1,000, we'd like to use $300 of it to go towards the supplies of teaching the mini lessons, as well as supplies for creating the wings. And since rain barrels cost a lot, we want to put $500 towards it and have adoption papers with names for the people who want to put it in their homes. The last $200, we'd like to use it for gift cards to participants. And so that's what we wanted to use our $1,000 for. Thank you.
So I'm blessed to have students like this. I'm just very blessed to have these kids to teach for.
Any questions for the MedTech students or teacher? None, okay. Andrew.
Yes. Thank you. Hi, I'm Andrew Gibson, the principal at the junior high. Congratulations to all the MedTech students. You guys, that was awesome. Good work, and Mrs. Haney for your leadership, and we appreciate you for that. And Powers team for your awesome presentation as well. I'm sitting back here listening to all these presentations, and I'm realizing I just come to the board meetings to tell you about all the awesome people that are leaving my building. And I'm trying to have that not reflect on myself and think, is that something that I'm doing, that awesome people are leaving my building and that all these awesome people in the other buildings are staying? So I'm trying not to develop a complex. But Mrs. Ennis, would you like to come up? And Mrs. Newhoff, just come on up with us. So Mrs. Ennis is retiring in how many days?
Well, December 31st officially, but 4 more days at school.
4 more days at school after serving our district for 23 and a half years. 23 and a half years. 6 years ago when I got to the junior high and Mrs. Newhoff and I had some conversations, it was very easy to notice that Mrs. Ennis was by far one of our top 2 teachers in the building. her relationship with kids, her dedication to her craft, her always evolving ideas and approach to teaching students of different levels and different capabilities. It's just really inspiring, and she's one of the teachers who every time I walk into her classroom, I become a better educator. It's really cool. And having to lose her is going to be really hard because she's a leader and a role model in our building. She's someone who, when we want to try new things, I know that if we go to Katie and Katie believes in it, that A, it's a really good idea, and B, that she'll tell her peers it's a really good idea too. And to tell you the type of person that she is, she knew she was getting towards retirement, and probably, 3 years ago, we moved you to 6th grade, we asked you to move to 6th grade? 3 years ago, so 3 years before retirement, we asked her to take on a whole new subject and a whole new grade level to make our building stronger. And because of Mrs. Innes, our growth scores in 7th grade are worse because her 6th grade math instruction is so good that it's impacting the 7th grade growth scores. But 3 years left in her career, and she was willing to take on a new challenge, do it for what's best for the kids and the community, and it just epitomizes how amazing she is and how much we're going to miss her. Every time she comes into the office, I try to convince her to stay. I offer her money, cash. I offer to not talk to her. But Mrs. Innes and her husband Tom, they also own Romps Dairy Dock, right? And then what's the mini golf now?
Putterport and
Putterport.
the marina.
And the marina. So she'll be staying busy. So if you're in Vermillion and you want to see Mrs. Innes, stop by. My favorite is the orange and white swirl. That is my favorite and my kids' favorite. But we're really going to miss you, Katie. You're such a fabulous educator and a really even better person.
Thank you.
And thank you for all of your years.
Thank you.
Yep.
It's been an honor.
You're welcome to say anything you'd like.
I don't think I can say too much, but I have loved my job. I've loved probably, I don't even know how many thousands of kids I've worked with. I will miss it, but it's time. And I have other things I want to do. I have grandkids now, and I'm getting too old to work 2 jobs, and my husband says I can't retire from my other one. So it's time, and you know, I want to go while I still love it, and while I'm still making connections with the kids, and I think that kids are a lot different than when I started 34 years ago, and it's a good time for me to go while I still love my job. So thank you so much to Amherst for really a great career. I couldn't have asked for better support from my co-teachers and my administration and the board, and I will miss it, but I'm excited for what's next. So thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Next portion of the board is for the public to address the board if they so desire. We have 2 people signed up. Jen, would you like to address the board? If you please stand, state your address, and then address whatever you'd like to address with us.
Sure. Address, yeah, home address. Okay. Jen Broman, 7071 Oak Tree Drive North, Lorraine. And I'm here honestly just as a support to Darcy. She has the issue at hand. I'm going to throw her under the bus. But I'm a part of the AJH PTO, just started this year, 4 kids in the system. And Darcy's work never ceases to amaze me. She just has a couple requests today, and I just come in full support to say as a friend and a fellow parent that Darcy's service to our schools is incredible, and what she's requesting and asking for I think needs the utmost attention. So I just wanted to express my support for her and for our PTO.
Darcy, if you'd please stand and your full name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Darcy Parsons, 744 Sunrise Drive, Amherst, Ohio. You know this code. I'm here today. I'm the president of AJH PTO. And for a few months now, we've been asking for a few things. It's been brought to a couple meetings, and it's been requested that we bring it up at the board meeting now. One thing that PTO was asked to provide, because they didn't have, is a safety concern for most parents, and that's another reason I am here. We have learned that the aides are out front at recess with no radios. We asked for radios. We've offered to pay for radios as a PTO. We fundraise for radios for our aides out there starting in October, and there's still no knowledge. We've asked and asked, so that's a big concern for us. We do know there's been sometimes that the aides have needed to get into direct contact with somebody inside the building, and they have to use their personal cell phones. And sometimes if the secretary has to step away from our desk, they have no way to get in contact, especially since they are out here at the practice field. My other concern is that a student get in fights and the aides trying to break that up. How are they supposed to be breaking it up while they're trying to call their school and use a cell phone and get an automated dial and have to type it? They need these immediately for safety of our students. So we're asking that we get radios. We brought it up to Chuck. He said there are some in the district, but that's all we get, is there's some in the district. We're, like I said, we're willing to pay for them on behalf of PTO, but we need this to move forward. Another concern of what we are being asked for is that parents have been told there's a pad going on, and I know we've worked with Chuck on that, with that going in, and a plan has been drawn up, but we were told last year it was going to be moved forward, and then this year, and now we're looking at maybe the spring, and then a huge project over the summer. But parents that have fundraised for the last 3 years, and this is their final year of their student being there, is not enjoying it. So now we're being questioned of what are we actually fundraising for, and in our eyes, it kind of jeopardizes what people are going to help us with. So we're asking for like a tentative date of when we can actually expect this, and to let our
I didn't hear what you said. What are you requesting? I'm sorry.
a tentative date of when a pad area was requested, and 3 years ago it was talked about, and they fundraised for basketball hoops to go on to this, and that's where our money was supposed to go to. When I came aboard, it was on hold, and then it was going, and then it's on hold, and I know Mr. Grimace, how do you say his last name? Chuck, has come to our meeting, this last one, with a proposed idea, but now we're waiting for him to submit it to a bid, and then when will it happen? And parents are asking, what have they done for the last 3 years with the funds that they've supported? So, anything else am I missing? So, that's
Well,
it.
thank you. Mr. Molnar has heard this request. He will take them and get back to you with answers for them from that perspective, and we certainly appreciate you bringing it to the attention of all of us.
Thank you.
Item 7. We're moving on. You're welcome to stay and listen to the rest of the board meeting if you'd like. We always like you to stay and hear what the treasurer has to say and all the other good stuff. But if you choose to leave, okay?
I sure do. You do.
You're welcome to. Madam Treasurer, you're going to give us a presentation, I assume, first?
able to hear me, Ronnie?
What's that?
Do you think you'll be able to hear
Oh,
me
yeah.
okay?
Mhm.
Okay, I think I'm going to get started. Tonight, we're going to talk about pay to participate. If any of you were at the late January meeting, we did our first presentation on pay to participate, and we're going to refresh it tonight. We're going to cover last year's revenue and expenditures for general fund. So that's last year. In January, we presented school year 2021. So tonight we're going to review activities, both extracurricular and athletic, that require pay to participate fees. We will reveal and debunk myths associated with it, identify costs associated with the extracurricular and athletic activities in the district. We will review general fund revenues associated with pay to participate since 2016-17 school year, and we will review aggregate participation numbers for Amherst Steele High School and Amherst Junior High. Here is just a list of the activities, both at Amherst Steele and the junior high, that require the pay to participate fee. Word cloud for the visual people. And the myths that we feel are running through parts of the community is that pay to participate revenue covers all costs associated with the athletics and extracurricular programs. And somehow that the district makes money on pay to participate revenue. So right here, we're going to talk a little bit about the detailed costs for the 2021 school year. $502,000 in supplementals. What that includes are supplemental contracts for certified and classified staff or laypersons that coach or advise athletics or extracurricular activities. What would be included in that is the actual compensation, 1.45% for Medicare and 14% for SERS or STRS retirement. In the miscellaneous purchase services, this would include, I want to refer to my notes here for a moment. Any miscellaneous purchase services would include costs to the district for things such as swim lane fees, rink time for hockey, the T3 contract, and security provided at some of the activities, game contests. $91,280 for buildings and grounds, and that includes personnel compensation and benefits. That would include Medicare, retirement, and insurance. The $31,894 for utilities for the athletic facilities is electric, gas, and water sewer. Supplies and materials, that $54,000 covers any materials and supplies such as the chemicals and consulting fee for the fields. That would include weed feed, fertilizer, and then any paint supplies or equipment that are used on the athletic facilities. $88,106 for transportation. That includes bus driver compensation and benefits for any of the field trips, gasoline and diesel. And in the next page, you'll see the cost for transportation broken down. I'll forward really quick. It's hard to see, it's a lot of detail on one page, but under wear and tear, it's an unknown number. And understand, there's 21,000 miles more than driven last year. It was 22,000 the year before for athletic and other field trips. And there has to be some material amount that should be recognized for wear and tear. But what is that number? It feels like it would be a little bit arbitrary, so I didn't include it. Go back to the other one, capital outlay. Last year we purchased an enclosed trailer for band. So total general fund costs associated with pay to participate for athletics and extracurricular activities is nearly $835. So here's a breakdown. If you want to see this, I will gladly provide it to you. It breaks down in great detail. It was very clear on an 8.5 by 11 page, by the way. It's like going to the eye doctor. Is it better one or two?
So anyways, again, this breaks down to almost $835,000. The general fund revenue associated with pay to participate, obviously you can see 2017, that would be the 16-17 school year, we received $335,763. In 18, it decreased. In 19, it decreased. In 20, it decreased. We had a bit of a hiccup there with the COVID-19 pandemic. In the gray box, you can see that we refunded $13,000, $14,000 in pay to participate that was paid for activities the students weren't able to participate in. Fiscal 21, we saw a further decrease, $223,000. Last year, it went up a bit to $242,000. And so far this year, we've received $142,000. You can see, just you do a quick calculation between fiscal 22 and fiscal 17, the decrease in pay to participate revenue was over $93,000. The next slide here is our number of students participating as a whole. In fiscal 17, again, school year 2016-17, 719 students from STEEL and AJH participated in extracurricular activities or athletic activities. You see a decrease, a general decrease through fiscal 20, which was the year that we encountered COVID. We picked up last year and in 21 and 22. Now, the thing that needs to be said, and Mr. Molnar might want to talk about this for a moment, our graduating classes at STEEL are larger than the 9th grade classes coming in. They're also larger than the kindergarten classes coming in. Is that the case, right, Mr. Molnar?
True. Over some of these years, we were graduating 300 students about, but maybe we're bringing in 9th grade like 250, 230, 270 in that range. So every year, the overall population of STEEL was decreasing by between 50 and 100 students. So at the end of that, we finally graduated that last large class. So pretty much in there, we've lost around, let's say, 300, 350 students. So again, when the whole building gets smaller, the number of athletes and participating in activities gets smaller. So when you look at the trend of numbers going down, it's not as though less kids are participating. There's less kids in the building, which lowers the numbers and everything, right? That's just wanted to make that clear.
And to go back to the general fund revenue, this year we have so far 502 students participating at STEEL and 67 participating at AJH. What the breakdown is between extracurricular participation or athletic program participation, we don't have that. We don't have that data. And just so everyone knows, the pay to participate fee is assessed in Power School. Power School is the student information system that the district uses. That $300 fee, we'll cover that in a moment, but that $300 pay to participate fee is assessed to each student who joins an extracurricular activity or a sport. We do not, it is just a pay to participate fee, $300. It doesn't designate whether it's a band activity or theater or hockey or swim, dive, right? So we don't have that kind of detail to share. This slide shows students involved that are involved in multiple activities. Those multiple activities could be swim and theater, or band and swim, or theater and basketball, girls basketball, something like that. So what's interesting here is, I can't see it from my, so the 2 activities or 3 activities. So we have last year 139 students that were involved in 2 activities. Last year we had 10 students that were involved in 3 or more activities, either extracurricular or athletic. So the $300 fee, just so you know, back in the 2021 school year, the school year that we returned after the COVID pandemic, we reduced pay to participate from 400 to 300. You'll see up here, Amherst is 300/150. What that means is the first and second students both pay 300 for an unlimited number of extracurricular or sport activities. The third, fourth, fifth, sixth student would pay 150 to be involved in unlimited activities. You can see in the prior slide, we have quite a population that are involved in 2 or more activities in the district. Bears to be mentioned here that Amherst is right in line with other Southwest Conference school districts. This was also presented in the January presentation. The only change here is that North Ridgeville increased their pay to participation fees to $250 and $150. That was a recent change. So put it all together, the general fund revenue we received in the 2021-2022 school year was just over $242,000. The general fund expenditures, all those expenditures we detailed, 834, almost 835,000, and the revenue as a percent of the expenditures just exceeds 29%. Now in January, that percentage was 29.46. There are givens. Right? Costs continue to escalate. From a supplemental contract perspective, it is written into the negotiated agreement that each year comes with it an experience step. So we know that there's going to be, each person that returns is going to be another percent of the base schedule. So we know, just as salaries do, supplemental contracts will typically increase over time. Medicare and retirement right now is staying static at 1.45% and 14% respectively. But look what's happened to fuel costs. We know that that is starting to equalize a bit, but in the presentation that I did for 5-year forecast 2 weeks ago, in the last 2 years, diesel has increased from $1.46 per gallon to $5.09 a gallon. So those costs, the bus driver, field trips, the fuel costs, the cost for fertilizer and paint for the fields has increased exorbitantly. So we know that this disparity, collecting 29% of the expenditures, is only going to decrease over time. And know that no student is ever turned away due to an inability to pay the pay to participate fee. Mr. Tellier and Mr. Gibson have just left, but Mr. Tellier, Mr. Gibson, Mr. Wolf can contact Mr. Molnar, and we have donations that we receive into a separate fund that will pay the pay to participate. Any student, also, this is not part of pay to participate, but if they cannot afford to go to Camp Fitch, we have PTOs who offer scholarships for that, and we also have this fund within the district that will pay for a child to attend or participate. So this is really important. It's on a case-by-case basis, but no one's ever been told no. And then let's cover what pay to participate. Remember, pay to participate is general fund revenue. What doesn't pay to participate cover? So the other costs are associated with the 300 athletic fund. It's a student activity fund managed by the district. The 300 athletic fund will pay for necessary equipment, helmets, safety pads, soccer balls, etc. Team entry fees, so golf invitationals and swim meets and cross country and things like that. But it also pays for game workers and officials. And what I'll say about officials is the Ohio High School Athletic Association has recently decided to essentially require member schools to increase the costs that they pay to officials. So as you can see, then the revenue that is received into the 300 athletic fund, namely admissions to football games, admission to basketball games. The expenditures also are outpacing expenditures. The revenues are outpacing. Isn't that what we always hear? Revenues are outpacing expenditures in the 300 athletic fund, just as they do with the general fund. So we just want to make sure that everyone understands that pay to participate revenue covers less than 29% of the costs associated with athletics and extracurricular activities. We are definitely in line with Southwest Conference districts. And this is detail from the auditor last January, and we still remain the 4th lowest in property taxes in Lorraine County. Does anybody have any questions?
No questions?
Can we post that somewhere, like on Facebook or some of that information, just for anyone who did it?
It will be posted on the website, both on the treasurer's page, but Mr. Wolf has had it posted since January on the athletics page on the website as well. And actually, parents who have had questions about pay to participate have been directed to that presentation, and it has alleviated a lot of the questions.
It was a great update to let us know where we stand with the pay to participate. No questions or discussion on that. If not, then we will move to treasurer's recommendation, item number 9.
This evening, I asked the board to approve the board meeting minutes from the special meeting that we had November 13th at Capitol Conference. Item B are the board minutes from the regular board meeting on November 28th. Item C are the financials for the month, as is the norm. We have a cash reconciliation, we have a financial summary, we have 2 reports, one for the general fund and one for the Fund 16 Emergency Levy Fund, that show actual revenues and expenditures against the budgeted or anticipated. And then we have November's monthly check listing. Item D, we have after the facts. 2 of them, one for Bon Secours Mercy Health, one for the workers' compensation premium. Item E are 2 fund-to-fund transfers that I asked the board to approve. These represent general fund advances, to the ARP ESSER, ESSER 3, also it's called fund. These are these represent negative cash balances in the ARP ESSER fund. We have submitted cash requests to the Department of Education, but we have not received those funds yet. And then item F are the donations.
Okay. We take a motion for 9B first. Then we take it separate because A, omit B, C through F would be another motion. So we're going to take a motion for 9A, omit B through C, D, E, and F.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gillis.
Aye.
Mrs. Wacholtz.
Aye.
Dr. Messer.
Aye.
Mr. Zappa.
Aye.
Mr. Engel.
Now we'll take a motion for item B.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gillis.
Aye.
Mr. Zappa.
Aye.
Dr. Messer.
Aye.
Mrs. Wacholtz.
Aye.
Mr. Engel.
Aye. Thank you. Item number 10 would be the superintendent's report.
All right, I think I'll stand since everyone's standing up. Just want to give an update real quick. If you want to take a look at the screen. Just want to give an update on the steel makerspace concept that we talked about last year, and actually put out the bid last year. That we talked about last year and wanted to support the concept of renovating part of that back hallway where the old wood shop was to create a steel makerspace. We put that out to bid twice, and the environment that was out there didn't quite find anyone who put in a bid that was appropriate. In fact, both bids came back with just one, I guess one person who bid on it. And the company wasn't exactly a renovation, architectural, or construction company. So, but we still moved forward with the courses that we were planning to put in the space. And we devoted the money that we're going to, parts of the money we're going to put toward the project into the equipment, the technology, 3D printers, and everything that was needed for those courses. So we still ran the courses, we just didn't have a newer space for them. So in addition to that, part of the bid was, if you remember, we were going to renovate two classrooms to one of the special education rooms needed to move from the old space. And so we were going to renovate the classroom and actually make some good updates to that for the special education students in that classroom and teacher, and put in a small kitchenette, washer and dryer, some other things, and a bathroom for them as well. So when the first bid didn't go through, we put out a second bid, we split those up. We did a makerspace bid separate from the classroom bathroom bid. And so that was the idea of maybe we'd be able to pull two companies that might take a smaller project in the environment. Again, it didn't pan out. So, and this was kind of some of the pictures from the space we talked about. And so, in coming back this year, met with everyone on the team. Sarah participated, Amy participated, Doug Hugdell, technology supervisor, principals, teachers, and so on. We want to move forward again with the bid and see if the environment's better this year, because we still want to take a shot at renovating that back hallway. The one change, well, I'd like to keep it into two separate bids. One of the bids, though, since we are renovating one of the major bathrooms at Steele, and the bathrooms at Steele have been an issue for quite many years, like probably 50, 60, or 70 years. I decided to put out to bid the second bid being not just one bathroom, but all restrooms at Steele, to renovate all of them. And of course, while we're working on that restroom, renovate those two special education classrooms. So we're kind of going out for two bids. One is for the back hallway Steele makerspace. The other one is for the restrooms at Steele and the special education classrooms. So I wanted to share that with you, because essentially, we kind of approved it, moved forward. Last year didn't happen, but I just want the board's approval to say, yes, this is the direction you guys would like us to go and to move in that direction. In addition, though, in going along with the makerspace and the new classroom back there, I had a meeting with LCCC, and I asked them to send me a couple different pathways that we can connect with LCCC in this new space to start providing more opportunities for our students. So they sent us a couple different pathways, and I narrowed them down to two. And these two pathways I want to share with you tonight to, again, see if you agree with the position and kind of move forward with this concept. One of the pathways is for building IT future software development. This is a pathway at LCCC. They have one of the most beautiful and updated maker spaces in the world, actually. A great space at LCCC. And so identified this one because we have some of these courses already at Steele, such as college algebra down there. But there are a few ones we'd like to add, which the goal in adding this at Steele High School would be for the students to enroll in these classes at Steele with a teacher, and then when they graduate, of course, hopefully move into the programs at LCCC. But if not, because many of our students go into the career workforce, is that at least if they leave and they don't go into a program, they at least come out with a certificate. So if you see underneath there, we talk about students who can successfully complete some of these courses will earn a certificate of completion, C605, in Computer Information System Software Development, which would help them go right into the workforce. The other pathway is manufacturing, automation, and robotics. Another field that's, I think, going to start taking off, and is probably already taking off in society. But this one also we identified because of the space we want to provide for our students, and also we introduced robotics actually this year for the first year. So it might be tweaking the robotics course we have and to fit with their industrial robotics, and also, again, we have offer statistics now. So again, let's see, English 161. We offer 161 as well. So again, we already offer a few of these base courses already at Steele. It would be adding, again, the technical problem solving, industrial robotics, college composition, and then again, successfully completing those classes at Steele, they can leave and earn a certificate of completion in robotics and I think it's robotics operators. And fields are looking for, in manufacturing, the workforce to come right in and start working in their plants in automation and robotics. So these are two pathways I wanted to share with you, because if we move this direction, it would probably include one or two new teachers to Steele, which would be an addition. We're not replacing someone, it would be in addition to the program we already have, but you can see what we're aiming to accomplish here. Now, it all ties in together. Like last year, the actual space itself didn't pan out. So again, this is a direction I would like to move. I can't guarantee the environment is going to happen next year, right? A lot of things have to come into place as far as the teachers, the credentialing for those teachers, also the space. But I'd like to move in that direction. So we're going to be going out to bid probably after the winter break in January for the makerspace again to see what we get back in. After our meeting, I also directed Doug Hogdell to go to LCCC to identify what additional costs there might be for equipment and technology in the robotics and IT software courses. I asked Andy Gibson we got a list of schools that have some of these courses already. So I asked Mr. Gibson to start researching, contacting those schools to find out exactly what credentialing and licensure is needed for these courses. And then I also gave Mr. Tellier a directive to go back with his counselors and start mapping out, if we were to include these courses at Steele, what that would actually look like into someone's schedule and how it would flow. Maybe their sophomore year, maybe a class like the Introduction to LCC Community, and then maybe junior and senior, what classes we would want them to take their junior and senior year to end with that certificate of completion in those classes. Okay. So I wanted to bring that with you as a board just to share this concept, something we talked about, I think, probably back last couple of years in different fashion, but wanted to bring it concrete. Exactly, this is the direction I think we'd like to go as far as with Steele and Mr. Tellier and myself. So, any questions?
So are the yellow highlighted courses the courses that we currently teach at Steele?
Yes and no. They identified those. On this slide, for example, we actually don't teach the Development 101, but something that would be very easy to implement. And that one doesn't have to necessarily even be a course. That can be included in another course combined with a unit. It could be something we offer after school, or they have an online component to it. So yeah, they highlighted it, but we don't actually have that one. But the other two we do.
And on the other pathway, there was 3 or 4 highlighted. We offer those.
Yeah, again, they identified microcomputer applications, but I don't know why they highlighted that on, this is the sheet from them, so. We do not offer microcomputer applications.
And we don't offer
the introduction, correct. Yeah.
So something like a student would go into like freshman year thinking of going down this path, or you can start later?
Yeah, so we had Mr. Gibson in the meeting because right now, in the last couple of years, we added Design 1, Design 2. And so we talked about that because right now, Design 1, Design 2 are the most requested classes at HH. We had like 350 requests for those classes. So again, like in the past we've had Spanish and orchestra, we put something kind of new out there and we see, oh wow, this is really wanted. So one discussion is how do we align, and even like the introduction to LCC community, that might be something that might be at HH. So we want to identify what can we provide at HH that can at least build a foundational skills needed and the creative skills needed to maybe go into this. So you don't have to actually lock in and say, yes, I'm going to do this in 7th, 8th, 9th grade. But it's available and we can start building them toward that. So, yeah. Does that answer your question?
If bids are favorable, when do you see this getting started and finishing?
Like last year, it would be, since this year no one is in the space right now. Last year we had students in the space. No one's in the space right now. So if it was favorable and we found the proper bid, we could actually start construction whenever the company was ready this spring, even with students in the building. Because again, there's back access. They're not cutting through the building, and you can block that section of the building off and start this spring. Yes. kind of start in spring, finish in summer, hopefully for open. That was the plan last year as well.
Okay, so in terms of, you were speaking about seeing what the environment will look like in terms of hiring teachers. What do you see as the biggest concern or barrier to getting those two teachers?
It's a specialized field. So in the process of identifying, there's just two options of identifying those who are qualified but maybe need some credentialing over the summer, over the course of next school year, or identifying those in other districts that possibly do teach these courses now that we would attract to Amherst and pull in new teachers that already are credentialed, are teaching maybe these exact courses for LCCC in another school district that might want to come to Amherst.
So would expense be an issue if you're looking at maybe some of the LCC adjunct faculty who are already credentialed?
That's an option we could look at, is if they have staff that they would kind of put toward it's not our own employee, that is an option. We would research that as well if they had someone available that might be able to do that. But that would have to align with, again, the schedule, and we have to make sure that it would be if there were two classes they were teaching, it'd be back to back, first thing in the morning and afternoon, something like that.
Mr. Molnar?
Yes.
Are any of these eligible for College Credit Plus?
Yeah, I believe the ones we have currently now are, and I believe they all would be, yes.
Okay.
So it ties right into the LCCC's program.
Any other questions?
Any questions?
For Michael?
All right, thank you.
All right, not to be outdone with the standing up, since it seems to be the thing we're doing today. Just a couple things from my neck of the woods. Wanted to share with everyone that today is the last day to RSVP for this week's Second Harvest Drive. So one last push to get folks who might be in need access to our Second Harvest, which is on Thursday. As of mid last week, we were already at 50 families, which is pretty high. Prior to the weekend before, we usually get a big surge in people signing up. So I wasn't able to get to where our numbers were as of today, but that's where we were mid next week. So this has still been a fabulous thing that we've been, our district social workers have been working on, and actually their Second Harvest has capacity funds that they have gifted to us, where in Jill Mayorka's room, she's actually setting up a pantry so that we can start working on having people be able to access boxes of food between our monthly distributions. So that's a pretty great thing. And then I also wanted to share, unfortunately, this is probably going to be our last year with Soul to Soul, because I believe that they are dissolving the program at the end of last year. But we started working with Soul to Soul in 2019-2020, and what they do is they provide shoes, like really nice Nike-type sneakers and things for kids who are coming from disadvantaged families or low-income families. And they've alternated between Nord and AJH. They really love those middle grades. This year, for this go-round, we were working with AJH, and they have 145 kids that are going to be getting vouchers for Famous Footwear to take and go buy a brand new pair of shoes. We are hoping to sneak one more go-round with Nord in this year before the program goes away, but it's been a really great opportunity for our families and for our kids. And kids go through shoes super quickly, so to be able to help to that end so that they have a nice new pair has been pretty great. So that's it from me.
Do we have knowledge as to why the program's going away?
I think it's funding on their end. It's within the program. Yeah, they were trying to keep it going for another year, but we just got word that no, they've decided that I think they're moving focus to other things. From what I understand.
I was just
Teresa,
curious
is it a
because
question or? Yeah. So you talked about we are going to start our own room with food? Is that for families? Is it for kids to take?
It's for a little bit of both. And so what it could be is, Second Harvest has these capacity funds where they are purchasing shelving for us. They're purchasing boxes. They're purchasing bags so that when we have families that reach out to our social workers between food donations, that we can have our students put boxes and bags together for them, and so that they can pick them up between our monthly distributions.
So they're giving you the food and everything?
We're working on getting donations for the food.
The reason why I'm asking is, do we ever recommend people going to the Amherst Food Bank that we have right here in Amherst? At Good Shepherd Baptist Church?
The Good Shepherd is the one that provides us with the backpacks. We have 104 kids that get those.
But they actually have but they're actually a food bank as well.
Well, we do connect families with whatever resources they are willing to access.
Okay.
So we do promote those, but sometimes they make connections with their people at the school and they want to
I get that.
connect that way.
All right, well, let me know if you guys need help with that, because we might be able to get
Oh,
some
that'd be
businesses
fabulous.
to start donating for that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So can you donate directly to here? You don't have to go through the harvest, do you?
We probably could. We're still working on getting everything in place. And they're working on getting the things ordered so that we could put them into Jill's classroom. But once we have that up and running, I'll have more details on how we can get support what she's put together.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Any other questions for Sarah? JVS, normal activity. The board agenda just came out, so I don't really have a whole lot to tell you about. We're always ahead of that schedule. I brought you up to speed last time. Sales are all going well. There's still some poinsettias to sell. Cookie pickup is coming on the 19th. We are hopefully we'll have some bids that we're going to discuss about what we talked about last month on this Thursday at this board meeting. Any questions for me? I would just remind you that when we get ready to look at the schedule for next year's meetings, which we'll probably do at the organizational meeting, that we would like to include a board meeting at the JVS, so that, like we talked about, so just let's not lose sight of that as we come up with that idea, as we put that agenda together. Item C would be board update and committee reports. Does anybody have any updates for us tonight from a board member, or anything they'd like to discuss or comment about?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
So from OSBA, there is a, I guess, call to action. So this is on Senate Bill 178 that just passed through Senate. Now it's being heard this week, actually. Today they had testimony, sponsored testimony, and tomorrow is general testimony on the bill. And there could be a vote tomorrow. So basically, the bill would create a new agency and reduce the role and significance of the State Board of Education and the state, the Superintendent of Public Instruction. It would go to undermine the role and authority of elected members on the State Board of Education. And let's see, it would move decisions about important topics such as setting the state's learning standards, graduation requirements for students and school report cards, to department staff that, unlike our current process of open meetings and transparency, this will not, some of those decisions wouldn't be made out in the open, I guess. Wouldn't apply to the Open Meetings Act. The current state board rulemaking process has been transparent for many years, and people have been able to go testify and just weigh in on some of the decisions. But if this were to pass and become law, then many of the rulemaking is moved out of that space, and given to departments without as much transparency as the State Board of Education meeting. So, would you like to add something? Did you add, just advocacy? Yeah, just advocacy. So they're asking districts to speak with their House reps and also reps on the secondary education committee, the House committee, and ask for them to not try to go to vote during lame duck season, but to kind of wait till the next General Assembly starts January 1st. I'm sorry, don't rush. Oh yeah, basically don't rush the decision, allow the next General Assembly to discuss and put forth more ideas and get more input and information from the public. So that was the big item I had. So, yes, sir.
Dr. Messer, was that a lot of that in an email sent to you or something?
Yes.
Would you mind
So I think we all get some of those, but I get the link, I believe, as well. It's a separate newsletter for the liaison. So
This one came to us from Jennifer Hogue at OSBA today, this morning. In fact, it said urgent House member contact and testimony needed on Senate Bill 178. So,
I think we might have all got it.
yes.
Because I did see it.
Yeah, I did see it too.
I think we might have all got it. Okay? Anything else, Dr. Messer?
no, sir. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Any other discussion or board updates anybody would like to comment on? The foundation board did not meet last week because there was some sickness, so they're meeting tomorrow from that perspective, just so you're all aware. The other thing I think we need to keep in mind is that Michael sent out Michael will be sending out, he hasn't sent out yet, proposed committee reports, correct?
Correct.
Yes. So I know he's been working on that. So if you have any concerns or anything about that, once he's put his committees together, please make sure you get back to him in a timely fashion, because we'd like to have that stuff all resolved before the organizational meeting, which I believe is on the 9th. At the same time, we need to think about what roles everyone would like to play as far as leadership is concerned for the next year. So give that some thought also. And if you have any questions or any questions about any of that, certainly reach out to Mike, myself, anybody that you would like to reach out to, so that we can all be on the same page from that perspective. But within the next week or so, Michael will have out to you the committees that he would like to have in place for next year, starting in January. Anyone else have anything? If not, we would go to the personnel recommendations, item 12.
I'd like to recommend personnel recommendation items 12A through 12E. They are your traditional personnel recommendations with a few resignations and some changes in contract. And I'd like to recommend personnel items 12A through 12E.
Do we have a motion and a second, please?
Second.
Is there a discussion or comment on 12A through E? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gillis. Aye. Mr. Zappa.
Aye.
Dr. Messer.
Aye.
Mrs. Wacholtz. Mr. Engel.
Item 13, educational recommendations.
Yeah, we have just 4 educational recommendations this evening. One of them being the school calendar for next school year. Just so the board is aware, that was a process I worked with ATA, Amherst Teachers Association on. We went back and forth with some different ideas and suggestions. We got some final thoughts and suggestions this morning, so I think we have a calendar we'd like everyone to consider this evening and approve for next school year. So with that, I'd like to recommend the educational items A through D.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or comments?
Oh, I have something. So first, thank you for the pay to participate presentation again. The one thing I would like to see, if I'm not mistaken, I guess can we have more awareness of people can ask about I guess, financial assistance or something for the fee, the paid person's fee. I know, like, staff comes,
Right.
confidentially to say something, but there's just some families who don't even think about it, like, well, we can't afford that, and they don't even know, so.
Right, okay. I'll work with Casey Wolf and PTOs possibly on some maybe ways we can get that out to parents specifically. And if you have any suggestions of any other ideas of how we might be able to share that, with specific community members or parents, please let me know. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Do we do that at all through the PTO?
I haven't heard of any PTAs on pay.
I just, no.
But maybe AGH.
No, just getting the word out that there's help, do you know?
Since I've been on since 2019, no.
I mean, that's one way, Mr. Molnar.
What?
It's through the PTOs, let them know if they know anybody that needs help or,
Right. Yeah, what we found successful is really just talk to everyone to make sure coaches, no coaches, if they know a player wants to play, is going to not let that player play, right?
Right.
Every coach, so it really works really well with teachers who come to us and coaches and community
Right.
members and parents. So yeah, it's not something you want to, I guess, put out on social media all the time.
Oh, right.
Yeah, personal connections really work, but there's ways we can try to make sure that everyone's seeing that information so they know that, we don't want anyone missing out.
And the junior high would be the only PTO that would be able to do that.
Yeah.
Because that would be the only.
Oh, that's
one that
right.
would have
You're
benefits.
right.
So I mean, there's no use bringing the powers or to.
right, that's true. I
I
forgot.
was gonna say shoot,
High school,
doesn't
yeah.
that go back
Yeah.
the wrong way?
Wrong way.
Or Nord, because they don't
Yeah.
have that. So it would just
Right.
be the junior high
Gotcha.
PTO that could.
And real quick, like Amy mentioned tonight, it's not just for pay to participate. It's for other fees, field trips, other opportunities.
Yeah,
So,
right.
okay.
And I think that we learned that Camp Fitch had some issues, and they did reach out to parents, and parents still didn't want any assistance from
Yeah,
that perspective.
correct.
I think we heard that
Yep, we did.
when the principal told us about Camp Fitch when we were there a couple months ago. Is that not correct?
Yes, and what really works is, again, the teacher.
The teacher's the one
contacting
who's-
the parent,
who's
Right.
to
reach
class,
out to
the
the
personal
parent.
connection
The parent
really
didn't want
works.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I think that we have to be cognizant
Yeah.
that some parents don't want to be pulled into that because it's a perception that they don't want. And I respect that as much as we want to help. We need to respect those who don't want to be pulled in.
Right.
Oh, definitely, just so people
Is aware.
are
Yeah.
aware.
Yeah, I understand. Okay? Any other comments or questions on A through D? None, call the roll.
Mrs. Gillis? Aye. Mrs. Wacholz? Aye. Dr. Messer? Aye. Mr. Zappa?
Aye.
Mr. Engel?
Business recommendations?
Yeah, there's just 3 tonight, 2 of them for the winter formal. And the first one, which is the lane fees for Splash Zone, which again, Amy mentioned earlier that the district pays for lane fees. We started doing that just a few years ago, actually, as a board of members. Prior to that, parents of swimmers paid for lane fees. I think it's the same with hockey as well, like their rink. And so we had discussions internally just about how if you're any other sport or activity in Amherst, like providing field and so forth, we don't have parents help pay for football field upkeep, et cetera. So we decided, yes, we need to take on that cost. So like all other sports, it might come down to maybe some special equipment or warm-ups or something, that the boosters want to get for the kids that parents can kind of support. So that's why that's on your plan for Splash Zone. So with that, I've recommend business recommendations items 14A through C.
In a second.
Second.
We have a motion in a second. Just for your information, lane fees cost for an hour and a half about $167 because the contract's laying here for my signature. So just so you're aware, for an hour and a half, a lane is $167 at Splash Zone. So you can imagine, if you look at the contract, the number of lanes is 3 or 4 pages long for the swim season. So it adds up quickly. Okay, and if they're there for multiple hours, it's more than that. So
It was
just-
almost $14,000 last year.
Yeah.
Ice rink time was $13,387.
I just think that plays into well to what we saw, so it's there. Any other questions or comments on 14 business recommendations, A through C? None? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Gillis. Aye. Mrs. Wacholz. Dr. Messer.
Aye.
Mr. Zappa.
Aye.
Mr. Engel.
There's nothing else to come before the board this evening. We entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gillis. Aye. Mrs. Wacholz. Dr. Messer.
Aye.
Mr. Zappa.
Aye.
Mr. Engel.
Aye. Thank you.
I don't want to do